Welcome to Season 3 of the Casual Camping Podcast, your home for the best camping discussion both in and out of the field. Here are your hosts, Tim and Ade.
Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of Casual Camping Podcast. I am Tim.
You're the amazing Tim. I'm Ade. And yeah, welcome back, listeners. Thanks for tuning in once again. We are here for your listening pleasure and hopefully inspiring you to get out to the great outdoors. Whether you are in this country or countries around the world, the outdoors are beckoning. You know they are.
You know they are, and the weather is great. Certainly here in the UK, certainly from some of the pictures that our North American friends are putting on the socials, it's pretty good in North America as well. I hope it's good in Australia and wherever you might be listening. Let's hope you get out there camping.
Yes, I was camping this last weekend, Tim. I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll.
You really are. You are literally, there is no holding you back at the moment. It's almost like you do a camping podcast.
When we first started, Tim, there were listeners that were out more than we were. Yeah. And it's just, it kind of bothered both of us at the time, but busy jobs. Now I'm just like, hey, let's go camping. And this last one, my partner said, why don't we go camping this weekend? I was like, you could have knocked me down with a stick. Well, I mean, feather.
I was going to say,
I think is the proper.
Stick. Take a big stick to knock you down. You're tall. I mean, you're tall.
Oh dear. Yeah. So yeah, we were camping in North Yorkshire.
Oh. God's own country. I'm just looking on the stats. So you talk about listeners all over the world. We are officially being listened to in 101 different countries.
3 listeners in each country. Brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's just one listener. They just get around a lot.
Cheers, you guy. Or gal. Yeah. No, we've got quite a few more than one per country, though, haven't we? So thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much. So yeah, sorry, I jumped into your camping story there. So you've been camping to the beautiful, beautiful North Yorkshire, and anyone who's not been to North Yorkshire, there's probably a little part of you in a box somewhere in the back of your psyche that's just permanently sad. And if you went to North Yorkshire, that little bit would be happy finally. So it's somewhere that you really need to just get off your backside and go.
Yeah, well, the Yorkshire Tourism Board have been in touch. No, they haven't really. But I think Yorkshire is such a big county, and I'm not talking like American states kind of big, but it's big for the UK, which is a small country in anybody's eyes when you look at the map. But Yorkshire in itself is just cracking. There's something for everybody there. And we were near Hull in a place called Beverley. I've not really spent any time in Beverley before.
Eddie. A proper Yorkshireman doesn't pronounce the H. It's just Hull. It's
Hull.
Hull. You've been southern too long.
I've been southern too long. When was the last time you were in Yorkshire, Tim? Touché, mon ami.
Part of me is always in Yorkshire. I lost a finger somewhere. No, I didn't.
Oh dear. So yeah, Beverley is incredible. And a big shout out to Butt Farm. Yes, you heard me right. Butt Farm. It is an award-winning campsite with some hard standing for vehicles and some brilliant fields that are well manicured for campers, as well as some like shepherd's huts and a little gypsy caravan. Thought it was really,
Sounds really, really pretty. Beverly's
and
Books, you say?
no, Butt Farm.
Bud
Uh,
Farm.
and got that through Hip Camp here in the
Fab.
UK. And you know what was incredible about it? Because it's award winning, is this site.
Cool.
But Jen turned up with the biggest smile and the warmest greeting.
Oh.
And she knows how to say the right thing to me because she went, "That's a nice tent. We don't see many like that." So I was like, "Yes, thank you." And
We've talked before, haven't we, about some sites that we've turned up at, and the owners just seem really miserable. Like the last thing they want to be doing is running a campsite. What you
yeah,
want is you just want to smile, don't you? You want people to greet you like they're glad that you've turned up and you're going to pay them some money. So
yeah.
it sounds perfect. How nice is
Really,
that?
really, really was. And we did a 2-day or 2-night stay, but actually we did a Saturday and Sunday. And I was having a bet with my other half that actually about 90% of people will go on Sunday morning, which they
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
which meant we had a really quiet site.
Oh.
And I know that, well, like hotels, like campsites, they want occupancy. And if people are just camping, mainly at weekends when they've got the time off, you could really do with a good thing of dropping those prices through the week, getting more people out there and
Mm.
going, you know what, actually, better to be running a site with a few people on midweek. You could almost call it the Pizza Express discount. You know how they do a Sunday to Thursday kind of deal.
Yes,
No,
yeah.
nobody ever pays full price on those days.
Could we call it
So
a casual camping discount?
casual camping, yes, that'd be.
Oh,
Oh,
you
you
heard
see,
it.
Tim, you're the brains in this outfit.
You heard it here first. So campsites, you need to start doing a casual camping discount for those midweek stays. You know, if you put the prices down just a little bit, you'll get more people on there,
Yeah.
and we'd be
Sunday
happy.
to Thursday when nobody else is camping. And maybe listeners, well, if you're not an owner of a campsite, maybe you should just start asking for the casual camping discount. See
Do you
what
know what?
comes back.
We've been talking for ages for a way to come up with some kind of way that we could promote certain sites and maybe have a standalone website where we're rating sites that we've been to. But
Yep.
actually, let's start just rating the midweek stays. Let's make casual camping campsite recommendations for like, we'll recommend you if you do, like, if you drop the prices for a midweek stay for our listeners.
Midweek stay. Because those sites are empty. And I think Jen, she's on the farm because that's her home. So, just getting somebody there. But the little touches, a really good washroom, really good showers.
Did you have a
Um,
shower again?
I tell you what, I can't not have a shower these
Oh,
days, just in
oh my
case somebody
God.
gets, I know, like Lily was getting up going like, "You been in the shower again? My towel's wet." I was like, "Oh, I've just kicked it around the grass a little bit, I'm covering up the fact that I'm having showers just to keep my rep up.
I thought you might have gone full hog and done a pits and bits.
Uh,
I think I've got the sample for that
You
one.
got
So,
you
yeah, I
got the
got that.
sample, yes. I was like, because Lily said, "Will you get some?" I was like, "I am going to." She was like, "You're going to use it this weekend." I went, "Oh, that was the only thing Tim got.
I
I
know
got the bag.
you got the bag with all the stuff, but I got the pits and bits. To be honest, yeah, you should have let you have that one as well. But
I didn't need it. They had great facilities, and you know what? A shared bathroom that had music playing in it,
oh,
so
nice.
it felt. They're always a bit weird, sort of shared bathrooms and stuff, and
Mm.
just having music blaring out morning, noon, and night in there, not to disturb the campsite, but just make you feel less like you're sharing a bathroom with somebody that you
Well,
don't know.
it's always a bit weird, isn't it, when you walk in and you
Always a
can
bit, yeah.
clearly hear somebody having a wee or something else, and it's just like, "Good morning, no idea who you are." I don't really like to hear that in my own house, but here we go.
Oh God!
So
The
yeah,
joys
no,
of
great,
camping.
great,
It's a
great
surprise.
idea.
It's a surprise that we're campers, to be honest, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, it is. It is really, isn't it? It is. What are we doing? Let's start caravanning, Ed.
Oh God!
No, no.
Wow. I think one of the highlights of last week's show for me, a nice little segue into what this episode is
Oh,
about,
could you?
was actually meeting the guy who um, runs the magazine for caravan and camping. Can't get me words out.
Yeah, yeah. He was on the train, wasn't he?
He
We were going
was,
to
yeah.
record the bit we're doing this week for last week's show on the train coming home, and actually we got chatting to the editor from Caravan and Camping Club magazine,
Yep.
and I got off the train while you were still chatting away to him. But what a nice guy! What a really nice chap he was.
Really, really nice. And it just made me think, just the differences of, what we go to a show for, that there's other people there. It was definitely a selling show. And
Yeah,
we were after, what's happening. We want content. We want to shout about some really great stuff that we see, the people that we've already got relationships with and know. And I just thought that, it was just a really interesting thing to see somebody else there and what they're doing for it. And, just chatting away for different things. We don't necessarily touch on the caravanning side of it,
no.
but, we're all inclusive. So, you know.
It was really nice to meet him actually, and as you say, just get a different take. Really, he'd had lots of meetings booked in, and had
Mm.
sort of flown round and talked to lots of people. Whereas we're casual, where we kind of go, we just stick a microphone under someone's chin and go, "You're going to tell us about that then?"
To which most of them went, "No,
I know.
let me get Jeff. He's good with microphones."
It was really funny, wasn't it? How these people they're so happy to talk to you, and they know their products inside out, upside down,
Yeah,
back to front. But as soon as you put a microphone in front of them, they get really scared and they get really nervous, and it's just
yeah,
really quite funny to see. And there was a couple of people who just flatly refused.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
funny. The two guys from North End though, they were hilarious because they were flatly refusing until one of them got forced into it, and then he didn't want us to. He
He
was
didn't
quite
want to
happy
give
to
it
keep. Yeah,
back. No.
he got the buzz. He was like, "This is great."
Yeah, they were really nice to us, and for me, no tent were one of the highlights. I've owned their
Yeah.
tent before. I've had the Koi 7,
Mm.
which is a twin pole kind of pyramid tent. Lots of absolutely bomb proof. Lots of guy outlines and peg
Mm.
out points and stuff. Really, really good. Um, you know. I had to sell that tent to get another tent. Nothing to do with the no tent whatsoever. Just I like tents, so
That's just the way you roll, and our listeners know that you do that.
yeah,
You sell to buy,
I've
sell
got
to buy.
children that are worried that they'll get sold sometimes. I'm only joking, listeners. No child has ever been sold by Aid.
Well, you can't sell children on eBay, can you?
They frown upon it.
So,
Parents out there, yeah, there's a lot of people going, yeah, but sometimes you might want to when they're being bad.
so this week's episode, we decided that um last week's episode was great. Going to the show was brilliant. I personally have listened to the episode a couple of times, and I think the bit that's missing from that episode is Ade and I really ranting and raving and going on about stuff a little bit more. So we decided to come back and have another stab, but really talk about the innovation. So this week's episode, you'll have guessed it by now anyway, because you'll have seen the title of it. But it's innovation. What was?
Innovation across the nation. Coming. Copyright people, that was Tim's own
Yeah, that was
composition.
my own air guitar fingers playing that. It's
With Tim's air guitar fingers is what we'll call that. Fingers 2. You did that, Tim. I didn't. You did that.
so innovation. So what are the real pieces of innovation that we saw last week? Because last week's episode was we went to the outdoor trade show in Liverpool, and that's the show that the listeners can't go to. It's the show where they present all the beautiful equipment that isn't even going to be for sale. You know, some of it isn't even going to come out till 2026. So what's the amazing stuff that we saw? What's the stuff that we felt we would have wanted to see, but it wasn't there? And then probably finish off with what's our idea of where the innovation's going to go in 5, 10, 20 years time. You know, what's the dream stuff that we when we're lying back in a camping field thinking, I wish somebody had invented this. And so we'll finish with a bit of dream innovation. But so I mean, you started with no tent there. I've got to say that tent that's name is just literally that was on the tip of my tongue has just fallen out of my blooming brain. 2 seconds, I have it written down. 2 seconds. Don't be so mean. The Varde one, VARDE one. What
I mean that is the first shape changing tent I've ever seen.
Yeah. So this tent,
you know, because literally is shape changing.
Totally.
You unclip a couple of bits, and then the poles that go across the middle are secured down at one end, but then come up at the other and create a peak for you to sit under. So it's like a tent with a tarp.
It's incredible, and it was so stable. That was the thing. It wasn't like, oh, you've changed the rigidity of the tent, and the tent's actually no longer stable. It was still a stable structure, and it was brilliant. And what's, you know, they're releasing that. It's not out yet, but it'll be out shortly. But they are going to do a 2 and a 3 man version of that same tent. So, oh my God, people, this is a game changing tent that a lot of people were talking about at the show. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, a one-person tent I've got, I use, but you know, not something as light as that changes in that way. That'd be something, you know, I'd want to own definitely. I mean, it just really, really good kind of thing, and something with a bit more height. Would probably, you know, maybe, you know, the 2 or 3 man tent might be the one that I would go for with those.
Yeah.
I guess they're going to see where that first one goes, but incredible to see. And, you know, the fact that, you know, I love what they do anyway. And yeah, just to see something like that just nobody else seems to be thinking of.
Yeah.
It's just different versions, different fabrics, different, color options of the tents. That seems to be the main spice of everybody else's tent review. So they're straight out of Norway, not Compton, Norway.
Oh God, it was just an incredible piece. You know, the fact that it's, you know, you can unclip certain parts of it and it still maintains that rigidity. It is still a 4-season tent, a full 4-season tent that, as you said, transforms and creates this peak to it. So you've got an awning to sit under and cook, but you can still bolt it all down and hunker down in some gale force winds and know that you've got a piece of equipment that you will be safe in. So it's, you know, it gives you that safety when the weather's bad, but it gives you incredible outdoor space and comfort when the weather's good. Bless you. Sneezing.
Excuse me.
Hair fever.
Something like that.
Oh dear, going again.
No, I think you're right. Just, I mean, that there was a lot of tents there. There was some great ones, some really light ones, lots and lots of different things in that way. But just really, really good to see.
Yeah, and it isn't the lightest tent, so it comes in at 2.9 kilos for the one person tent. So a 2-person version and a 3-person version, the weight's going to go up. We saw the Nordisk tent there that was just under a kilogram. I mean, how they're making that so light? The material on it was incredible, but it was a 2-person tent. But it was still a tent that I've seen elsewhere. It has been around a little while. The weight of it was what was innovative with that tent, because it just weighed nothing at all, considering it was a full 2-man with two vestibules. It gave you an enormous amount of space for less than a kilogram. And as I said on the episode and joked with the rep there, I've got jumpers that are weighing in more than that tent is. But the Nor tent,
I don't think that was the rep. I think they were the owners and designers, Tim.
No, I'm talking about the Nordisk one. So I'm just comparing it to the Nordisk one.
Yes.
The Varde, is coming in at 2.9 kilograms. We saw the Nordisk tent was a 2-person one that was incredibly light. And I think she was the rep, wasn't she? That we spoke to there. The guys at Nor Tent, they were full on Norwegians. We struggled a little bit to start with the language barrier, but it was great. Once they got talking on the mic, they were fine.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that our enthusiasm came across. I think it did.
I think it did. I mean, we got free chocolate out of it. Thank you very much. I've eaten that, a Norwegian Kit Kat, and they've shared our socials today, which is awesome. So our little video, our little reel about the Varde one, they've shared on their socials, which that's really nice when that happens. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it just it gets to that point that we love kit, we love what people do, and just seeing some of those things out there, really, really nice.
Yeah.
So what else did you see that you really, really liked?
I liked some of the little touches. I wouldn't say there was that much there that really blew your socks off, as in, gosh, I've never seen anything like the Nor tent. That stopped us in our tracks. It was incredible what they were doing with that. But there were a lot of things that haven't just done a new colorway. They'd made some subtle changes. So like the Jetboil little changes that they'd made, from some of their sort of fast boiling stoves, they've taken away the and we talked about this, but we didn't talk about it on microphone, annoyingly. They've taken away sort of the metal knobs that you turn to dial the gas up and down, and they've transformed them to look more like the knob off your cooker, to make it much more user friendly and get away from these things being stuff that, oh no, you can only do that if you're into extreme sports and you really know everything about it. It looks like, how you turn it on looks like the dial off your cooker at home, and stops it being a scary piece of kit. And I really liked that. And they've taken off the piezo ignition button, and as you just turn the gas up, it automatically presses the piezo and ignites. Yeah. And just little subtle changes like that. I just thought, you know what, that's a really, really, really nice touch. I really liked that. They'd also added a ceramic like guard, essentially, over the igniter that sits on the burner, because I've had it. People know I've had Jetboils for years, and it does get knocked, and it does, if it isn't the right distance from where the gas is coming out, it won't spark. So they've added some protection around that. Subtle little changes, but actually really, really quite makes it incredibly user friendly, and and much more robust. So I really liked what they were doing. Thought that was really, really nice stuff.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think we said at the time, but a company that has been so innovative and a game changer for stoving world, really, of what can do. Uh, but actually, that is there still listening to the consumer.
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you need? Just trying to keep that finger on the pulse of what people are after and changing, what is essentially a great bit of kit, but some updates. I thought they were really, really nice.
Mm.
Um,
What had you seen? What
the self-focusing torch,
knew you were going to
head
go there.
torch.
Knew you were going to go there. It's that was a blow your socks off kind of moment as well, wasn't it? Watching that thing kind of dance, really.
Yeah.
He set it into some mode where the all the different LEDs on it were just going off, and that was a crazy piece of kit.
Well, I think that in itself blew me away. That actually wherever you look, it will notice whether there is something in front of you or whether it's open. So it'll track the distance and then give you the light beam that you need. So
Yeah,
whether that's a long distance or a more focused close-up beam, depending on where your head looks. So very much what you're starting to see in cars and stuff, but for headlights. And I
yeah,
think the story and the enthusiasm that came through from that guy talking about his company and how they first and foremost do for emergency services. And he said, in an environment that things can't give up on, you can't fail. You've got to have them. You might be down a drain or a sewer or, whatever that is. Whatever you can imagine where you don't want something to run out. He said, we test for those things so that there's no surprise when the battery's going, you get warnings all the way through. So that was really good. But also the fact that we're also used to lithium batteries that are now sealed within bits. And they've been doing, what is the company called? I've forgotten.
it's LED lenser, so LED
LED
lenser.
lenser, sorry.
Yeah.
That they have developed their thing so that you can interchange the LED batteries. If something is going down, you can switch it over and pop another one in, which is the first time that I've seen that
Yeah.
kind of stuff going on. And I just thought they were really, trying to force the boundaries of what is possible with what they were doing.
Yeah.
I've seen the market is flooded with head torches, and in speaking to him, that top one with the self-focusing light,
The HF8.
HF8, brilliant. Thanks, Tim. That in itself wasn't cheap, but I could see where the value in that was
Yeah.
because, my God, what an innovative bit of kit.
What was, there were lots of things that were really incredible with that, but the piece itself comes with a 7-year warranty. The battery, independently of the other item, comes with a 7-year warranty.
Yeah.
They're guaranteeing the battery. It's
Yeah.
it's just they're that confident with the piece of equipment that it's robust enough. It's going to take whatever you throw at it. And I think he said off microphone that they gave these to like a bunch of, was it builders or something like that, and it came back. This stuff had been tested in labs where they'd been knocked around for effectively for like 2 years worth of use. They literally gave it to a bunch of builders and carpenters and people out there in the field, and they only gave it to them for a few weeks, and what came back was these things had been properly tested, really they'd been put through the paces, and they were battered and they were bruised, but they were working absolutely fine. And yes, we're casual. What do I use a head torch for? 90% of the time is to find the cool box so I can get another beer. Let's be honest. I do more walking than you, so yeah, I also do want a reliable piece when I'm walking the hills. And you should always, even if you're summer hiking, you should always have a flashlight with you because you never know what's going to happen. I have had to bring somebody off a hill once, and we should have been off it hours before, but they hurt themselves, and it just took a hell of a lot longer. And you don't want to come off a hill in pitch black because it's scary stuff. So you need something that's reliable, and even if you're not going to use it very often, having that really, really, really innovative, shiny piece of kit just makes you feel great about yourself.
Yeah, and considering how it's got sort of light sensors in there, but it was a light bit of kit, really light bit of kit, really
amazingly, wasn't it? And like
and
you
it was
said,
metal.
Yeah, it was like a sealed metal unit. I loved the fact that the power cable linked to it it was magnetized, so you didn't there was no ports to be plugging anything into. And I really liked the fact that the battery pack, a lot of those high end ones, you end up with a massive big weighted battery pack on the back of your head as well. And it didn't have it. It was all encased in the front unit. It's really nice piece of kit. I'd like to get my hands on one of those and have a test of it out in the field, have a bit of a play with it in the field because it'd be awesome to have a play with.
Yeah, I saw something on the telly the other day about where, and it was talking about stuff for your kitchen and where those things are going, and they're saying that actually the failing point for a lot of things within your kitchen is the cabling.
Okay.
So you just touched on there that like our phones have got the where you just put them down and the charge comes through the magnets, and they're saying that even for the kitchen you're just going to have a charging point that is a magnetized bit on your worktop, and things no longer have cables because they're trying to get away from the precious metals that go into those kind of things. Copper's expensive, all those things, but if they're the fail points. And it'll be really nice with all of those other things not having to plug things in, but just have somewhere to place them.
Yeah,
I think that's what I want to see come through in a much, much better way, because I'm sick of taking a light that I've had to I've forgotten to plug in, or I've plugged it in but the connection's not quite gone through.
Yeah.
Did that this weekend with Lily's phone. She was like, "Oh, thanks, you plugged mine in." And actually, the connection hadn't gone home, so I was like, "Oh God!" So it was, and that's the thing that I think what I'd like to see. And I think obviously the pits and bits. Bloody love that stuff because I'm a new man, Tim. I'm a clean man, that's for sure.
You look like a new man. You're all shiny.
That's the suntan from being in Yorkshire. God was smiling down on me.
The suntan from pasty lard spread upon your face so you could swim in the North Sea.
We had chips for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Cool. Could you be an old posh?
Don't worry, we got scraps.
Oh, yeah. They call them different in every. They call them bits down here.
Bits, yeah. Bits. Can I have bits?
I don't want bits. That's weird. I want scraps. It's yeah. Who knows? I found my new pillow at.
You did
at the time. We didn't even mention it on last week's episode. So,
I mean, can we say rather than it's your new pillow, that's my new pillow too, because that was such a simple thing, and the videos that we put up showed how great it was to go from a soft fabric to a weatherproof fabric, and you fold stuff in. But right at the end of the video, he slaps it with his hand, and you can feel how firm that is, And I don't mean firm in it, but I've had pillows that you roll up and squash down, and then were nothing like that.
No,
So that's
no.
going to be my new pillow too.
Yeah, I am absolutely getting that. So that was the it was by Climate, KLYMIT, and it was their Drift camping pillow,
Yeah,
and it felt like a feather pillow,
yeah,
and
it
it wasn't.
really
It was
did.
it was hollowed pieces of foam, of memory foam that they'd got inside there, and but it felt as nice as a feather pillow, and I use feather pillows at home, and it came with like a cover on it on one side that was waterproof, so if you're out bivvying or anything like that, but then you could literally roll out another cover. You would slide the inside of the pillow into the more softer side, and then roll up the weatherproof side cover. Hard to tell, but it is on our socials from last week.
Yeah, so
And
so my description is it's like a double width pillowcase,
yes,
and half of it is waterproof fabric, and the other half is soft fabric, and then the pillow slides inside between one and the other, depending on what you want to use.
that's a perfect description, Eddie. Well done. Somebody could draw that from that description. That's a great description.
Yeah.
What was really nice about both pieces of fabric was neither of them were crinkly made of crisp packets,
Aye.
which is what 99.999% of camping pillows are made of. And I don't want to go anywhere near them because you're never going to get a good night's sleep on any kind of crinkly material.
Yeah.
Um, it was so soft. It was so nice. That somebody has finally, I've been waiting years. How many years have we been camping?
Oh,
2000?
yeah.
2000
I've tried
years?
so many pillows,
Yeah.
and you know, I revert to new pillows. I've got them. I've got one that I've had for a couple of years. It's great, and it's certainly great when you've forgotten a pillow and you go, "Oh, I've got that one with me." Great, but it was nothing like
It
that.
was nothing like that. I'm so glad that finally a company has come out and actually invented the camping pillow that everyone's going to want, and it's made it to the top of my list. I haven't bought it yet because I'm still in the middle of moving house. Don't ask me. It's been a nightmare. I'm currently in a rented house because it's gone that wrong. But hey, I'm surviving. Sorry if the sound's a bit funny this week, but I'm on a different microphone. I'm trying my best. When I finally get into my own house and I can actually have things delivered, I am buying that pillow because it is the only pillow I'm ever going to use ever again for camping. I've been waiting
Yeah.
years and years for that to be invented by someone, and I'm so glad that the guys at Climate have done that because it's awesome.
Yeah, well, the guys on the stall there were excellent and really talked us through lots of different things. But the one thing as well, you might have seen it on the internet, the rocker seat.
Yeah,
And what blew my mind was that the rocker seat in America, he said, is something like $130 million last year or this year or
yeah,
something.
the
I'm
whole
just,
business.
they're not exact figures, but everybody's going crazy for them. And we've sat in them and they were pretty good, weren't they?
They were really nice. They were really comfortable. I was going to say these are the same guys that do the rocking chair that we saw at the caravan and camping show a few months ago
Yep.
earlier in the year. We didn't talk to them then, and but yeah, they've got this. They're the sole people who brought it to the UK, and it's like it's got a gas like piston type
Yeah.
suspension to
Piston.
it,
Yeah.
and they've done an upgrade for that this year as well, so it's slightly performing a bit better, and it was just so comfortable. It's such a lovely just rocking motion that you're just kind of rocking yourself in this camping chair that's a rocker. What was
Mm.
really amazing with that was it actually folds smaller than my Outwell camping chair,
Yeah, it did.
which you would have
Really.
thought, oh, it's going to be really bulky and really heavy. It was lighter and folded smaller
Yeah.
than my
Yeah.
conventional chair.
Yeah, because he said, "Oh, wait till you see this," and I was like, "Wow, that really was." I was like, "Plus the fact that they put a strap actually to the metal. So it didn't need a bag. You just carried it like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Smart.
yeah.
Why do chair manufacturers do the tiniest little bag that you can't get your chair back into and get really frustrated with it? A bit more material, just an inch or two. It's not going to cost you
Yeah,
that much.
yeah. Or like you said, just put a strap on it and
Easy. It's not that kind of show,
not
Tim.
that kind of show. It's not that kind of show. Sorry, the wrong innovation. Oh, oh,
Moving on.
oh, moving on,
So,
moving on.
yeah. And where do I want to see this going? We had a good laugh with the Yeti guys.
It was such a
So
shame. He was so funny. He was hilariously
he
funny,
was
but he
so
would
funny.
not go on microphone at all. But
No.
he was so funny taking the mick out of you. It just would
Uh,
have been a whole episode of him making fun of you and your clear fetish was would have just been brilliant. But
I mean, like when we first met him, and I did say, "My name's Ade, and I have a Yeti addiction." And he was like, "Oh, you're one of them, are you?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." And as I'm talking to him, I went, well, "What's that?" Because my eyes were going all over the place, and I saw a couple of things that were new, which we're not allowed to talk about.
I
But
know.
I thought, "Oh, brilliant! Yeti are doing something new coming out," and I guess for what we saw lots of coolers there from Stanley to
Mm.
Yeti to Dometic. They've got a new style cooler coming out. And I think some of the things that Dometic were doing with their coolers was really, really good. Stuff that's just quite interchangeable. And you can.
I love that. Sorry, just to jump in about the
Mm,
Dometic. Um, Literally everybody was talking about the Dometic cooler, the Recon, because the
yeah,
lid is hinged on both sides. So
yeah,
whichever
yeah,
way you come to it, you can open it, or you can just take the whole lid off and use it as a massive ice bucket.
yeah.
Nobody's done that before. That was
No,
cool as anything.
yeah.
It was that was really cool. Sorry, I talked all over you then.
No, it's. I mean, you're right, and you reminded me of that. I think what and they were looking at as well with Dometic about what goes in the car. So they've removed some of the bumps and
Mm,
handles, made sure that everything is flush, so that when you're putting things in a car, they've looked at average car space so that you can put them in. But the one thing I would say is, and maybe this is the thing to look at for them is they're still bloody big.
yeah, yeah.
They are 2 inches thick, however you look at it. And to get a decent one for a weekend away, you need one of the big ones. And how much? So, I hope they're looking at how can they keep the insulation
Yeah.
um, or the thermal properties, but reduce that because they'd look even sexier rather than these big things. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but I
Mm.
think going forward, different colorways and stuff like that is not just always the
Yeah,
option.
yeah, and that was probably one of my less innovative things in certain brands, and I won't name the brands because there's nothing wrong with any of those products, but actually it was colorways was the new thing,
Yeah,
and as you say, particularly with coolers with cool boxes, if some hopefully at some point somebody will find a new material or a material that's being used elsewhere in industry for a completely different purpose that actually has incredible thermal properties
yeah,
and without the bulk, and will then be brought into the camping world, and we'll have a cool box that doesn't have this massive size, but will still take the same volume. That
yeah.
that that would be a great thing to see, wouldn't it, in the
I
future?
mean, it really would. The Yeti Pro. Well, you could have the big
Oh,
code, but for an extra,
the Stanley Pro.
yeah, for an extra £100, you could have the one that does exactly the same, fits as much in it, but it's slightly bigger, slightly smaller.
Or it's exactly the same size as the other one, but fits twice as much in.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
there's
I know
all
where
of
you're
those
coming from.
things.
I know where you're coming from. That is a really good shout, Ed. If there's anyone, if there's any kind of materials expert out there, something that's used on like
Yeah.
submarines or something crazy like that, something that's
Yep.
used in a nuclear power station or something. Let's try and bring that into the camping world in a safe way without the nuclear stuff.
In a safe way. Because do you remember last year there was a cooler, a very retro metal cooler called Oyster?
Yeah, it was doing the rounds on all the socials, but
Yeah,
nobody had actually got their hands on one of those. It was being plugged and plugged and plugged as an
I've
advertisement on
seen some
socials.
Japanese ones. Guys camping that have got one. I think you can order it and stuff. I couldn't quite get to grips with the fact that so it wasn't insulated. It used medical grade stuff to keep stuff that's already cold. So
Yeah,
you've got to chill your stuff before you take it. You can add ice and ice blocks, but actually and it had a 450 pound, which, is now to me. I go buy that tomorrow, Tim, if I could afford it. But you don't want to be the fool that spends
yeah,
that kind. If
yeah.
something's worth that kind of money, yes, I'll buy it. You
Do you know?
don't
Do
want
you
to be
know
the
what?
person that
Do you
buys
know?
it and people go, "This is all warm and stuff."
Yeah. Do you know what made me think that stuff like that was just too good to be true? Because they were
Mm.
a small company, they were a startup, they had one product. You've got companies like Stanley, you've got companies like Dometic, you've got companies like Yeti who make coolers for a living. If
Yep.
that product had come on the market, they'd have bought that company and they'd have gone, this
Yeah.
thing is so brilliant, we're going to bring it into our range and we're going to use those materials.
Yeah.
Nobody's bought them out, and furthermore, nobody's copying them. We've been to the show that's not releasing stuff until next year, and that kind of stuff wasn't there. So I think it was probably too good to be true. But
Yeah,
it
I
would be
mean,
nice if it was.
Oyster, prove us wrong. We'll
Yeah,
do
yeah,
we'll do a test. We'll do a test.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
give people the confidence to, I hope. And the one thing that I think in their favor were the right amount of retro cool.
yeah,
A metal aluminium cool box that it certainly looked as good as what they were saying.
yeah,
Whether or not it performed as good as what they were saying, I don't know. I hope
yeah.
so for them. But yeah,
If
I
it's
think
if it's not,
that's the thing with that I hope to see from
yeah,
those things going forward from Yeti.
I
Reduce
think,
those size down, and you will start to get people going. Yeah, actually, that's the cooler I
yeah,
want because actually its footprint is just less than mine, or I can take more and it
yeah.
be this size.
Yeah, no, I think that is an absolute brilliant shout for what we need to see in the future. It's
Yeah,
I'd love, if it isn't, if it is that oyster, if that is the cool box of the future, then great. I'd love to do to repeat our ice tests. I had my Stanley, you've got your Yeti, and we both threw ice away at about 8 days time.
yeah,
I'd love to stack an oyster against it and actually repeat that test because it would be interesting, to see if it still had ice in it. And but if it's not that cooler, someone's got to find that new material or that
yeah,
material that isn't new, but it's just been used somewhere else for a different reason,
yeah,
and bring it into that sort of cool box industry because yeah, there's new shapes and there's new sort of latches and things like that they're changing on them. But as you say, the main thing is they're still 2 inches thick,
yeah.
and we need to reduce that down.
And the thing that really attracted me to the Yetis in the first place, and then the US Grizzly did the same sort of thing. I think they were competitors.
Hmm.
Uh, Grizzly are not sort of around the world, but Grizzly did a really good range of colours compared to what Yeti were doing to start with. But the thing that attracted me to start with was that metal handle that they had.
Yeah.
And actually, when you get any kind of any kind of substance within those, they're very heavy blocks.
Mm.
So, I've gone with a wheeled cooler, and they've done a range of those. Yeah, I think there are some things coming out next year for Yeti, and everybody seems to be, have that competition between them. But that's what I'd like to see. And I think Dometic, whether people have heard of Dometic, I've come quite late to the Dometic party, but they do incredible stuff
Yeah,
for motorhomes. They're a massive, massive global company. They do some good stuff. And I heard from the guy at Dometic that my tap faucet, the Hydration Girl faucet by Dometic, is getting an upgrade next year so that it'll pivot rather than just be a standalone unit. It'll pivot and allow the tap to be moved around, which I thought was a nice little upgrade. And yeah, they can start taking my money now.
Yeah, they will always be ready to take your money, Ed. It's
I know.
they'll always be ready to take your never, never.
Will that be cash or credit? Credit, of course. Take something for yourself. Pet.
Treat yourself, darling.
Treat yourself, darling. That's just for you, okay?
Oh God. What I'd like to see in the future, and I've talked about this before. I don't think I've talked about it on the show. I might have done. I do tend to repeat myself a lot, but I'm waiting for someone to create a fabric that you can make clothes out of. You can make tents out of. It feels like a normal fabric. It's soft as a normal fabric. It's waterproof, and it's got a solar weave in it. So the fabric itself is a solar panel. And I would love that to I mean, mainly for tents. I'd love to see like a massive panel of my tent actually just be the solar panel, and it just perform the same as the rest of the fabric in the tent, or you make the whole tent out of it, and it doesn't matter which way around you pitch your tent. So as long as the sun's shining, you're always going to have a bit of sun, and there'll be a port on it somewhere that I can just plug a power bank into, and I can take a charge off it. And if the material's soft enough and nice enough, you could make a jacket out of it, and you're walking on the hills, and you're literally charging your devices while you're walking. There's got to be, we've got really, really good again with these materials and bringing them smaller and smaller and smaller. There's got to be some kind of a solar thread that we can thread through other fabric and actually make that piece of cloth have solar powered properties to it, so that you can then just have a port somewhere, and or even you just slide your phone into your own pocket and it wirelessly charges your own phone. That's what I want to see. I want to have a little pouch on the inside of my tent, and I just slide my phone in, and it wirelessly charges my phone because it's been creating all this solar energy. That's what I'd like. Do that, people. Do that, and you'll have my money too.
And your hair would be stood up at the end of the night, wouldn't it? Tim charged himself too much.
Admittedly, yes, you might electrocute yourself if it rains. I don't know. That's for the boffins to work out. I'm just the ideas guy.
come on, boffins. We're ideas guys here, okay? The one thing that one group that I wish I'd spoken to was Thule, who do bags and storage, and
Richard will probably tell you off. It's probably pronounced Tuhule or something like that. Like he did with Vaude. It's probably Tuhule, isn't it?
Let's hope not. But they have got an interesting set of roof tents, and I would dearly love to try out one of their. They've got one that is half the size of everybody else's, and I don't mean lengthwise, so that Danny DeVito could just sit in it. I mean one that doesn't take up the whole of your roof, takes up half of the roof because it folds in on itself.
Yeah.
And you unfold it, which I think is an incredibly good idea for those things, so that you could get a bike on the side or a
Yeah.
canoe, or if you're that adventurous, some more storage. But yeah, I wish I'd had a chat to them, because I'd really I've seen their stuff for a while. Not that expensive when you consider, the 2 and 3 grand some of the roof tents. But I
Yeah,
think the one that
yeah,
I was looking at is about £1,000,
yeah,
so at the cheaper end of it, but still look quite decent.
yeah.
Um,
I'm still on the fence regarding roof tents. I think they're great, and I think they get a lot of people out there. I think they're very expensive. I think they weigh an awful lot for what is fundamentally a three-person tent, which we all know is actually a two-person tent. So it's, you
yeah,
could, for a quarter of the expense of most roof tents, you could get a four-season three-man tent that would weigh, 3 kilos less, probably 2 kilos.
yeah,
If you get the Nordisk, it's less than a kilo. And it would be an all singing, all dancing, all fantastic tent that would give you exactly the amount of space that you're going to get with a roof tent, but you haven't had to carry this massive weight all around the country on your car.
yeah,
I don't get it. I would get a roof tent if it gave me more space. If there was a way of it giving me the space that I get from a 4 meter bell tent, and
yeah.
for 4 times the cost, I'd probably go for it. I'd probably go for it, but it doesn't. It gives you the space of a three-person tent, and it weighs a ton, and it costs a fortune. And certainly in the UK, they're being stolen off people's cars. So there's a massive risk to actually owning one. I think roof tent innovation is a good point. Looking at somewhere like Thule, who have come up with one that gives you the same amount of space, but it's half the size and
Yeah.
and only takes up half the roof of your car. I think that's great. I think there needs to be more of that. I think lighter materials, streamlined design when it's actually on your roof, because having a great big box on your roof is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, and so lighter materials, different design, and actually do something more than it just be, a really basic three-person tent. When you do
Yeah.
all that unfolding and everything else, it's like
Yeah.
it's just a three-person tent, then, isn't it? It's
And and,
it's
and I get all the point, you're making some really, really good points there. But I think as well, that there are those people that are sat down having a beer while we're still carrying stuff from the car.
I
And
get
and
that. I
and I,
get
and I
that.
think that's the payoff, and that's what I'd like to try and experience. I know long-time listener Bella
Yeah.
has been a lover of her tent box since she got it, and wouldn't go back. I don't think it's not the only time that she camps is with that. She's got other tents, but that's what she dearly loves, and I think.
Mm.
There's obviously things out there for everybody. You and I just haven't experienced them, but I do. The whole camper van turning up, driving off when you're done without all the pack up and everything else that goes on. It took me 2 hours to put stuff. I took my time yesterday, but it was 2 hours to pack
Yeah.
away my
It does.
beautiful kitchen
It
and
does take a
roll up
lot.
the air beds and all of those things, which is why. If it's just for a night, I've been using the swag. It's
Mm.
just a nice, easy thing. I'm mindful of the mediocre 5-star review that we received this week. So yeah, so it's for me that is the opportunity to think differently.
Yeah.
I know I can just drive up somewhere and I don't need to find a really good pitch. I just need somewhere to park my car on a site, etc. And that's what I'd like to experience. And if I was going to experience it, I like what Thule have done instead of the folding out, the different way that they've done it.
Yeah. No, I'm not slagging off roof tents.
You are, Tim, but you're allowed to.
I'm just on the fence. I too love the idea of rocking up and it all being done really, really quickly.
Yeah.
I just think the payoff isn't there. It's a 3-man tent at most that is incredibly heavy and I the tent itself, when you fold it all out, it needs to go wow for me to I want to see some innovation in roof tents, and it not just be this thing that folds out and goes 2-man tent.
Yeah,
3-man tent.
And you and I get more from dressing our tent, getting all the stuff out. Lily was saying, she was like, I can just see you like happy just putting your stuff out. And I said, yeah, I am. I just love it. And I looked around the thing, there was some lovely tents there, and I was like, yeah, I've won on this tent site. Even with that £100,000 motorhome, I've won. Everybody sat there going, look at Ade's setup. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
In my mind, anyway, that's what's happening. Yeah. So the Thule Foothill rooftop tent, if anybody wants to go have a look at what I've been trying to describe, but not very successfully, I think that's quite an innovative way. The Thule approach is very nice as well. But yeah, just a few different ways to look at what people are doing.
Yeah. So speaking of a 5-star review, shall I read this incredibly long 5-star review we've had? It's mediocre at best 5-star review. So forgive me if I butcher this. It goes on for a long time, but I'm very, very grateful for this review. Well, I think let's start. In one corner, we have 5-star Tim, the undisputed king of the wilderness, orchestrating a camp setup so luxurious that even 5-star hotels are filing complaints. His tent, more spacious than my first apartment. His cooking station, rumoured to have Michelin-starred capabilities. His campfire, more atmospheric than a candlelit dinner in Paris. And then there's Ade. Ah, mediocre Ade. Once the legend of the camping world, the architect of comfort in the wild, the master of tents that stood tall against the elements, and yet, oh, how the mighty have fallen. His once revered kingdom of cosy convenience has now been reduced to nothing more than a swag. A humbling reminder that even the greats are not immune to catastrophe. Despite this tragic decline, we hope, we pray, we wait with bated breath for his inevitable return to greatness. The resurrection of his setup, the revival of his empire, the glorious comeback we all need. Someday the stars will align, the gear will be restored, and Ade shall rise again, reclaiming his throne as the true lord of the campsite. Hashtag sorry Ade, hashtag anonymous. The fact that somebody's gone to such lengths to write all of that, I have to say, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not too sure. I know what they're getting at. But yes.
Oh, there's a little tear in his eye. Let's go to a minute mindfulness. Let's jump to a minute mindfulness because he's going to have a moment.
Welcome to the Casual Camping Minute Mindfulness. Let the sounds of nature take you back to the camping field.
Has that helped you, Ed? Has that helped to calm you down? Are you all right now?
Well, I think so. I mean, they're talking a lot of sense, but I mean, there's companies folding because I've not been buying as much. There's a Japan economic problem going on because I've stopped using Amazon Japan to ship stuff in, but they no longer need to. So updates from Snow Peak is that they finally passed the EU sort of certification and stuff. So the stoves and all their excellent range of other things will be coming to the UK, which is great.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Well, they've already started with the blowtorch. So, and a comparable price, Tim, which is always good to hear. It's 55 quid. You can buy that in the store in St. James's in London if you want to go down for a trip.
I'm gonna shout out to Joe and Mark because Mark needs a blowtorch in his life. So, Joe, you need to make that happen. Just saying.
Ooh.
Just saying, Joe. You need to make that happen.
Joe. No, I wasn't going to go there, actually. No, we were all thinking it. Let's just not. Do beg your pardon.
And on that bombshell,
mind,
I think we probably better stop this episode before we go too far.
I've been Ade.
I've been Tim. Let us know this week in the socials what innovation you want to see in the future, because let's then see if we can make this happen. And but yeah, great to talk to you again, my brother. Take care.
Yeah.
Casual Camping Podcast accepts no liability and does not officially recommend any products or endorse any techniques discussed in an individual podcast episode or shown on Casual Camping Podcast social media accounts. Individuals should make their own informed decision and risk assessment of any products or advice prior to any purchase or use.